Hello, it's Kristen here again, and in this video today, I will go through some very basic, minimalistic movements that you can do on the mat, on the ground. They're basic and minimalistic because sometimes less is more. Often less is more, actually. So it may be that you are simply not able to do any bigger, more complicated movements at the moment. Sometimes we're too exhausted, or we might have physically something going on that's limiting our movement ability or our strength. And it's still good to do something, even if it's minimal, because apart from doing the little movements that we're going to be doing, we're also going to use the opportunity to be in our body, to experience the movement really from the inside in all their subtle complexities, and connect to the ground and do something that I do in many of my videos, which is called grounding in the movement and exploring. What that means is exploring the relationship that we have with gravity and our support that we're on, which is the ground, and explore that in movement. Because when we do that, our body really understands a little bit more and is able to adapt how it moves, how it organizes itself, making the movements a lot easier, less strenuous, even these tiny movements. And also doing that kind of communication with our body and movement, with the connection to the ground, working with gravity, has a huge impact on our nervous system. It does tend to bring it back into balance. So if we're feeling somewhat destabilized, stressed out, exhausted, it can really help us to either get a little bit more energy again or to feel more calm. It depends. But this is what this video is going to be for. So I should say, if you're freshly injured and that's why you can't move, double check that you can do a basic sort of Pilates-based movement practice. And if anything feels painful, it's really not about pushing through anything at all. So if even lying down and doing a little movement, it just presses your buttons where it hurts, maybe not today. Maybe this video isn't for you, or it's not for you today. Or, if you're not sure, feel free to get in touch with me, but be on the safe side and avoid any pain and discomfort if possible. And if it doesn't feel good, do listen to that and do something else. But if you want to have a go and see how it goes, you can do it with me. So we're going to have a lie down. I will do it with you and talk through it at the same time. But really feel free, if you want to join in, to not look at the screen and to just listen. I will still, as always, aim to explain it well enough so that you don't need the visual, because the benefit would be, of course, that then you can really just be with yourself rather than having to twist your head and, I don't know, sit up and look at me. But the visual reference is there if you get lost, if you need it. So let's have a lie down then. Get to the floor in whatever way is comfortable and safe for you. And then arrive there for a moment. And I recommend that we'll bend the knees and have the feet standing, because it makes things a lot more easy for the back and other areas. I also, for the moment, have a bit of a cushion, a bit of a block there with a cushion on. So really take a moment when you arrive here to really check that you feel supported, or as supported as you can feel. It may seem like, why bother, with these little things, but the little things are important. You're getting in contact with your body, doing less is more. So let's really go for it and see how it is to do less is more. So you arrive here, you arrived on the ground. For many of us, lying down has sort of a bit of relief with it, because we no longer have to hold ourselves up. For some of us, lying down can feel disempowering or even bring a level of unsafety. So check with yourself, is it okay to lie on your back? And again, if not, you could stop at any point. And if it feels okay, if you maybe feel more like, oh yeah, this is nice, a bit of relief, bit of support, spend a little bit of time there to really acknowledge those positive qualities that have come with lying down. Whether there's some ease that came with it, with that relief, that disengagement of not having to hold yourself. Where do you feel that the most? And just appreciate it for a moment. It's actually really nice, isn't it? So why not have it? It comes for free. Completely free. Yeah. And then with that, of course, there's the fact that, yeah, we don't have to hold anything up. The floor is, supporting us really well in this position. So take a moment to feel the floor. You could start with your feet and spread your feet out a little bit, as in spread your toes. And like you want to cover more ground with your foot. Just feeling the ground underneath. And the amount of weight that your feet have. And your lower legs, of course, on top. There's a weight somewhere in the pelvis, the back of the pelvis. So just feel how you're making contact there. You could let yourself kind of rock a little bit if you like to get a bit more information around how weighted is this thing. And if there's just sort of mild levels of discomfort, do acknowledge those. And if there's something about your position that you could change to make it more comfortable, you can do that. But if it's just a very small level of discomfort, you could just wait for a moment to kind of just acknowledge it, but also acknowledge just the weight. And sometimes this discomfort goes away when we don't obsess about it. So make your own judgment there, whether it's discomfort that tells you that this isn't a good position for you, or that, going through this process is triggering at the moment in some way. Or whether it's just some kind of soft tissue tension that's complaining, but actually, when we become aware of other things, that settles. So the rest of your back is in contact with the ground, the upper back, shoulders somewhere, the arms, and of course the back of your head. So again, I've got a cushion there because it tends to be a little easier. They have the head slightly raised, and it's really fine to do that. It's not about getting the head to the ground or anything like that. And the same is true for anything else that you might notice that isn't ideal. We're very good at criticizing ourselves. So if you notice one shoulder is really up and the other one is different and something feels wonky in the body, it's fine, right? We're not machines. It's okay. Doesn't mean it has to stay all that wonky, but for the moment, this is a question. Can you just accept how things are? Just for a moment. And maybe it's not that important for things to be perfectly balanced or for things to be perfectly relaxed. If there's holding anywhere, if there's tension anywhere, yeah, good to notice it. And then don't beat yourself up over it. That's not going to make it better. Just go, oh yeah, I'm holding some tension. I wonder what that's all about. And maybe I can support that a little bit more by, again, acknowledging that the ground actually holds you, supports you without complaining, without asking for anything in return. And it's always there. And maybe our body can just trust into that a little bit. Notice if you want to close your eyes, or you could keep them open if you like. And sometimes it's nice to actually look around a little bit, just to remember where you are and have a bit of a look at your space from this position. You might be seeing the ceiling and some things that you don't normally see. And usually we see a lot of the dust that needs, or the mess that needs tidying up. But let's not focus on that right now. But just, having a little bit of a fresh, curious look around your space from this position. Or you might just want to rest your eyes to be able to really feel into yourself. And again, if you feel like you're getting a little lost in there, just open your eyes and look at some stuff around you. And then actually, if your head's quite lifted up, let's bring it down a little bit, just for this first movement we're going to do. So without letting the head be uncomfortable or the neck, but just bringing it closer to the ground as much as possible without discomfort. And then go back to acknowledging your feet. And how would it be to just stand on your feet a little bit more? It's like you're putting some more weight onto your foot, like your feet want to do what they're good at, which is standing. And then you let that go again. So what will happen just as a result of it, if you allow it, is that as you're standing on your feet and put some weight onto them, your pelvis starts to get lighter or even hover a little. And then you just drop it back down again. And, this is the very basic beginning of a very popular exercise that I have a whole half-hour video about on here on YouTube. But it's not about getting anywhere with this. We're just playing with the initial part of this exercise, this minimal first piece of the movement. And to just being curious about it and exploring it in the sense of, how does this happen without me having to sort of flex a lot of muscles and pull my body around or create a certain shape that for some reason I'm supposed to make? So how is it to just stand on your feet and just notice what your body does without you holding on to anything, if it's possible? Sometimes we can't let go yet. So allow your stomach to be passive, heavy. Allow your spine to just be what it is. Maybe it's a little rigid. Maybe it's not. Maybe it can move a little bit segmentally. But you're not making it do anything. You're just getting out the way. And your knees perhaps aim to track a little bit more over your feet, which might pick up your body a little more. And you might get a sense of a slight pull of your body towards your heels. And then you place yourself back down again. So it's different to if you stand into your feet and push towards the head end. You can try that too. How is that different? To sending your thighs, your knees in the direction of your toes. And maybe letting your heels get heavier and draw towards your hips. Yeah, play around with it at a low level if you like. Even when you're up there, you can push back and your head might tip back a little more. And then you pull your body with your legs. If you like. So you can feel the difference. Come down in between sometimes. Your arms can be wherever you like them, actually. I quite like my arms overhead, but that's not necessarily where they need to be. Of course, for you, that might not be so comfortable. So place them wherever they feel most at ease. So this is really about, for many of us, this is a strange concept of kind of doing an exercise and aiming for no effort at all. But this is exactly what I'm asking for. Can you just stand on your feet and make it simple? Not having a goal here other than being curious about the moment, about the movement. And the body will just do what it needs to do it. There's a shift of weight here as well. So you're standing on your feet, the pelvis gets lighter and the weight pours more into the mid-back and shoulders. And if you're more interested in this particular exercise and how you can spend time with it, then watch my other video about bridging. But we're going to move on a little bit. So let the pelvis rest back down again. Just take a moment to having to do absolutely nothing at all, except you could bring your cushion back if you like. And all you're doing is just detecting of what is this piece of movement done for me, or what's a little different. Sometimes we can't put words to it. It's just an awareness of a slight change in sensations. You know, what if you're not sure, what the question could be, what is different, or how do you know that you've just done some movements? Can you still feel something in you that tells you, if you just woke up, that you may have just done some movements? Even if it might just be more awareness in your feet and lower half of the body. And we're going to stay with that a little bit. So again, acknowledge the ground holding you, so you can just drop into it. You've got a right leg and left leg, and you've got hip joints either side of your pelvis. And then focus, pick one leg, whichever one it's going to be. Pick one that you feel you can easily connect to. Like, yeah, I'm taking my awareness to my left leg, let's say. Could be your right leg. Just feel into it for a moment. So that's your leg. That's your left leg. Yep, you got one. And then all you want to do is let that knee roll a little out. So you're still heavy on your foot, but you're rolling the weight into the side, into the outside of your foot, allowing the hip to open a little. And then you plant your foot back down again. And again, it's very tempting to go all the way out, right? Big, nice stretch. How far can I go? Let's not do that today. Let's do it slowly and really be in the moment of opening up this hip joint and transferring the weight into the outside of your foot. Let's just go halfway, somewhere where you could go further if you wanted to, when you choose to come back, because it's enough. So you're controlling the range a little, keeping it in a range where the body is pretty happy to do it. And that's the other thing. We're all different in terms of what our body is sort of feeling in terms of restrictions. So be honest to yourself. How big can you make this movement without pushing through some kind of inner invisible boundary? So where do you feel like, oh, this goes into a big stretch? Things are stretching, pulling, creaking. And make a little bit of a wise judgment there to, just for the sake of this exercise, keep the range small enough to respect those inner boundaries a little bit. So it's not about stretching through them. You can do that anytime. But it's about exploring the range of the movement that feels like the body is just saying easily yes to. And then let's do that on, or actually before you do that on the other side, let's pause for a moment. Does even through this tiny movement, does it feel like there's a difference between left and right in your hip, in your leg? So I've got a weird cooling sensation in my left leg now. Sometimes it's an odd thing. And then go to the other side. Again, small movement. Explore this side. Is it different to this side? It very likely is going to be a little bit different because we don't have like a copy of the left or the right leg. We have individual hip joints, individual thigh bones, individual pelvic bones. So this is going to be a different hip and a different leg. Yes, it's also yours. So you can again say, yeah, this is my right leg. It's different. That's fine. I'm trying out this one now. Playing with it. Remember the support from the ground, especially under the foot. And as you do a few more, also acknowledge, yeah, maybe there is again a little bit of weight shifting going on. As the leg goes out, it makes sense that it takes some weight in the pelvis with it. And that's fine. So you can explore for a moment how your weight is shifting in your pelvis. It might again be also a little different to the other side. And then again, pause for a moment, come back to the middle where everything is somewhat aligned. Feet, knees, hips. And then you're going to alternate slowly, go back to the left or whichever way you started. Come back in and let the other leg go then. So you start alternating.
And as you do that, just notice, picking up from what we just said, there may be a bit of weight shift from side to side in the pelvis, but let's minimize it a little bit. Not to say that you're holding things down and that things are not allowed to move, but just check when the knee goes out to the side. Is the other hip lifting off the floor? Or can you stay a little bit in contact with it? It might get lighter than the side that your knee's moving towards, but it's not like your whole pelvis is rolling off in the same direction. Now, if you feel like, oh no, it's totally wobbling side to side and I can't control it, make your movements a little smaller for now. Really allow your pelvis to drop into the ground. So it's heavy through the middle. Allow your feet to keep their weight, even if it's shifting onto the outside of the foot. And then again, as you're opening up the hip, can you almost visualize or feel like you're opening, you're giving away the leg? And you're just kind of subtly letting it wind back in. Maybe you can feel something in your abdominals helping you with that, but without you having to do it. Just observe. And again, just for the last few, new concept perhaps, could this movement be so light and easy that you barely feel any effort or any muscle doing it? And there's more a sense of giving out and opening. And then pause there again for a moment. And again, notice, is anything a little different now? And just allow yourself a moment to just rest. I know it's not a big exhausting piece, but rest comes for free. And most of us don't get enough of it. And it's really valuable. And right now, where you have this connection to your body, it's a great opportunity to just be with it without having to constantly be busy. And then just notice your arms wherever you have placed them. It doesn't matter where they are, but just check, where are they and do you have them? Can you feel them? And then slowly take your arms up to the ceiling. So your palms are facing each other, either side, above your shoulders. And just hold them there for a moment. I'm just going to play a little bit with this. So maybe your shoulders can feel nice and heavy next to you, but with your arms long. So your elbows are not bending and your palms are kind of looking at each other. And then, of course, you could slowly reach for the ceiling, as though your fingertips want to brush the ceiling. And it almost feels like you're kind of stretching up to the ceiling a little bit, and then let your shoulders stand on the floor again. And with this, again, there is a sense of, okay, maybe you feel some muscles sort of clenching and overdoing. Just notice that. And maybe not, but you may be able to just let them soften a little bit. Is it necessary? Do you need all that muscle contraction? Can you allow your body, your head and your back and your ribs to drop into the ground, to allow the arms to float up with ease? And then when your shoulders want to seek the ground again, that can all get a little lighter again as your shoulders and arm bones find their weightedness again. And could you have a sense of spaciousness in each shoulder? So as they go up and they go down, you could almost imagine you've got these sort of air bubbles in your shoulders that mean that none of your bones touch each other and there's plenty of space. And then find a middle between these two. So there is the reach and there is the drop of your shoulders. And where would be somewhere in between, where there's a little bit of reach, but you could go further. And then let your arms travel a little bit up towards your head, towards your knees, maintaining this half reach, maintaining the spacious bubbles. Maybe there's some clunking. It's okay. If it's not painful, that's fine. And again, you choose the range. How far do your arms want to travel overhead? When do you meet some message of that's too much, that's enough, that's pulling somewhere? Yes, you could force yourself to go further, but we just won't. We'll just respect the boundaries for now and explore, well, how much movement is for free? What does the body say yes to? And how might it be to just allow the body to move within what it is okay with for a little bit? You could turn this into a circular movement rather than just going up and down, but maintain the half reach if you can. So there's still some heaviness in the back of you. And then bring your arms down for a moment by your side. And just notice again, how do you know that you've just moved your arms? What is it you're sensing in your arms that tells you you've just had them up in the air moving around? And is there something that's changed a little bit around the shoulders? And when you're ready, come back one more time to the same position with the hands over the shoulders. Feel your feet again. So we're just going to combine something there a little bit. So stand on your right foot and reach through your right arm. So you're going to find your weight roll into your left shoulder and left hip and all over left side. And your head might also roll a little. So it's like you're trying to get the ceiling with your hand and your leg is helping you a little bit to get your arm further. And then let yourself drop back gradually and go over to the other side. Slowly. It's a slow movement so that you can really process all of it. I know it's minimal and it's tiny, but actually, how much can you be aware of in this tiny movement? And from the bubble in your shoulder, maybe there's also a bubble in your hip, spacious bubbles, to the rolling and the weight that rolls your body from one side to the other. How your weight drops into one side, hip to shoulder, and rolls to the middle over your spine to the other side. And you could almost imagine that this is some form of back massage. Again, yes, some muscles will be doing this, but do you really need to feel them a lot? Maybe you're just letting your weight shift, allowing your arm to reach and your foot to stand. And everything else moves along. And it's free and easy to a degree that's possible for you. And then come back again, allow the arms to come down, and again, pause a moment to just notice, how do you land? How is that different? How is your connection with the ground now? How's your breath? And then if your eyes are closed, just open them slowly for a moment. So you're kind of taking in what's around you again. Allow your head to roll, to orient towards whatever it is that is around you slowly. And with your head rolling perhaps a little side to side, you might get a sense of which side are you going to roll onto in order to roll yourself over and to sit back on your heels. So do this slowly in your own time. And of course, not all of us are comfortable back on our heels. For some of us, it's the best thing ever. For others, it's really not. So you could sit back a moment if you like, but we're not going to hang out there actually for too long. But also, you know, again, some of us are very limited in what we can do at a time. So you may also not be comfortable on your hands or on your knees. So if this position or these positions are not for you, you can always finish off here. And we're just otherwise going to do one more piece here. So you're going to be on the knees and the hands. Spread out the hands a little bit. Put your weight onto the heel side of your hand. Tends to be a little bit easier for the wrist. And then just shift your weight backwards and forwards. And, you know, you don't need a mirror. You don't have to be perfectly aligned. But see if you could have a sense of the back of your head lining up with your shoulder blades, the back of your ribs, and the tail in the back of your pelvis. Doesn't have to be perfect, and maybe you're feeling it being aligned and it's not. It's really fine, as long as you just kind of sense into it as you rock backwards and forwards. And as you rock backwards and forwards, you're also always taking your, the weight of your wrists again, so you don't have to make this a struggle. And your hands are just there, kind of your arms are just there to keep the floor away from you. The weight really can drop back a little bit into your hips and knees. And you're just rocking backwards and forwards, aiming to maintain this length. So as you're sending your hips back, you might feel like your pelvis starts to tug, to roll under. And that's normal and okay, but just kind of see, could you shift backwards and forwards, maintaining the length? So without that happening. So maybe you can't go quite so far back. So keep it a small range. Again, free movement within this. And then again, you could move yourself further back if that feels appropriate, depending on what's okay for you. And maybe you sit back all the way onto your heels, maybe not. So you choose if you prefer to sit all the way back onto your heels, or whether you would like to instead just come to sitting, maybe sitting on a cushion even, or whatever position is comfortable, sitting on a sofa, to just take a moment to arrive in a more upright position, or resting forward as you were on your heels. Just taking a moment there and slowly finding your more upright spine. And again, take a moment, first of all, to just look around your space again, because this is going to be a slightly different perspective again from lying down, isn't it? So you can look around, really taking in what's around you. I know you know your space, but this is about letting your nervous system really know where you are, because you may have just taken a deep journey into yourself. So check in with what's around you. And then just take a moment checking on what's different now, how you're sitting, how is your spine supporting you, how do you feel? What's changed? How's your body? And when you stand up in a moment as well, take a moment in standing. How is that for you? How is your body standing? How is it experiencing standing? And feel free to let me know how it went. And that will be us for today. See you around, and good luck with your somatic movements and your embodiment practice.